Here we are going to discuss two characteristics that differentiates this market structure from other market structures. So, as in monopoly, price exceeds the marginal cost. So, what will happen? Profit maximization requires marginal revenue to equal marginal cost, and in this case all the firms face downward sloping demand curve, making marginal revenue less than the price. As in a competitive market, price equals average total cost, so free entry and exit drive economic profits to zero. So if we compare this market structure, that is monopolistic competition, with monopoly and the perfect competition, so the difference is in the case of monopoly there is only one firm, and in case of monopolistic competition there are many firms. In case of monopoly, demand curve is steeper because of one firm, and in case of monopolistic competition, demand curve is relatively flatter as there are many firms in the industry. Why monopolistic competition is less efficient than perfect competition? There are two noteworthy differences between monopolistic competition and perfect competition, and these are excess capacity and markup. On the basis of these 2 points, we can explain the difference between monopolistic competition and perfect competition. First, we explain how excess capacity can become a difference between monopolistic competition and perfect competition. So the first point is there is no excess capacity in perfect competition in the long run. Free entry results in competitive firms producing at the point where average total cost is minimized, which is the efficient scale of the firm. There is excess capacity in monopolistic competition in the long run, and in monopolistic competition, output is less than the efficient scale of perfect competition. In case of perfect competition, there is no excess capacity and all the firms are producing at the efficient scale in long run, but in case of monopolistic competition, there is excess capacity because firms have market power and they always produce less than the capacity, and this will create loss to the society, and output is less than the efficient scale of perfect competition. Next is monopolistic competition versus perfect competition. Here we are going to explain the difference between monopolistic competition and perfect competition with the help of two diagrams. In figure A, that is the monopolistically competitive firm, this figure, there is a downward sloping demand curve, this one, and a marginal revenue curve as well. In order to show the normal profit in long run, it is required to draw the average total cost curve that should be tangent to the demand curve. Now you can see here, this is the average total cost curve which is tangent to the demand curve at point M. We need to draw a marginal cost curve to show the profit maximization point where marginal revenue is equals to marginal cost. So here marginal cost curve intersects marginal revenue curve at point E, which is the profit maximization point as well. Since this is the long run, so all the firms are earning normal profit here. Here total revenue is OQMP. This whole rectangular area is the total revenue, and the total cost is OQMP again, as In normal profit, total revenue is equals to total cost. So here OQMP, that is the total revenue, is equals to the total cost, that is also OQMP. Now there is also another point here. Here the marginal cost curve is intersecting the minimum point of average total cost curve. You can see this point. At point N, marginal cost curve is intersecting the average total cost curve at its minimum point. And this point is known as the efficient scale of the firm. At this point, firms can produce much more than OQ. So initially the firm is producing quantity that is OQ, but at point N, that is the efficient scale, the firms can produce OQ1 that is greater than OQ. Since this is a monopolistic comparative firm, they have market power and they produce less than their efficient scale and charge higher prices and earn profits. In this way, firms with market powers can exploit the consumers. Now you can see here the price is quite high in monopolistic comparative firm. Now in figure B, where long run profit is shown in perfectly comparative firm, there is horizontal demand curve or price or the revenue curve, this one. There is also average total cost curve, whose minimum point is tangent to the revenue curve, this one. For profit maximization, marginal cost curve is needed, which is passing through the minimum point of average total cost curve. At point E, total revenue is equals to total cost. So the firms are earning normal profit here. And you can see at point E, quantity produced is equals to efficient scale as well. Here the firms are producing at efficient scale, so consumers are in benefit in case of perfect competition. Where the firms are producing at efficient scale and charging less price as compared to monopolistic competition. This is how the difference between perfectly competitive firm and monopolistically competitive firm can be explained by using the concept of excess capacity. Monopolistically competitive firm has excess capacity. They can produce more and can supply more in the market, but they produce less than the efficient scale and charge higher prices in long run. While on the other hand, in perfectly competitive firm, in the long run, all firms are producing at efficient scale and they are earning normal profit and charging lower price. Next one is why monopolistic competition is less efficient than perfect competition. So the second point that explains the difference between both market structures, that is monopolistic competition and perfect competition, is the markup over marginal cost. As we know that for a competitive firm, price equals marginal cost, and for monopolistically competitive firm, price exceeds the marginal cost. This is the difference between two market structures. In case of monopolistic competition, price is greater than marginal cost, and in perfect competition, price is equals to the marginal cost. Because price exceeds marginal cost, an extra unit sold at the posted price means more profit for monopolistically competitive firm. Next is monopolistic competition versus perfect competition. Now we are going to explain this situation of markup with the help of diagram. In figure A, this one, monopolistically competitive firm, when demand curve is downward sloping, as you can see here, this one, average total cost curve is tangent to demand curve at some point. Marginal revenue curve is also downward sloping. Marginal cost is intersecting marginal revenue at point E, which is the profit maximization point. Marginal cost curve is passing through the average total cost curve at its minimum point. You can see at this point. Here the price is OP. OP is the price and marginal cost is OC. So here price is greater than marginal cost, as it is evident from this diagram as well that the price is OP this much and the marginal cost is OC this much. So here the price is greater than marginal cost and the markup is PC. So this is the markup. In case of monopolistic competition, price is charged higher than marginal cost. As you can see here, price is charged higher than the marginal cost. Now coming to figure B, in case of perfectly competitive firm, price is equal to marginal cost. You can see here. So here markup is the main difference between both market structures. Firms under monopolistic competition charge higher prices than cost, and in the perfect competition, price is equals to marginal cost in the long run. Monopolistic competition and welfare. Monopolistically competitive markets do not have all the desirable welfare properties of perfectly competitive markets. Because price is greater than marginal cost, the market quantity is below the socially efficient quantity. Yet not easy for policymakers to fix this problem. Firms earn zero profits, so cannot require them to reduce prices. There are Next is number of firms in the market may not be optimal due to external effects from the entry of new firms. There are two externalities. First is the product variety externality. The product variety externality. Surplus consumers get from the introduction of new products. Entry of a new firm conveys a positive externality on consumers. So, here it creates positive externality on consumer, as they can get the new products from the market and they can receive the benefit. And the second externality is the business stealing externality. Losses incurred by existing firms when new firms enter the market. Entry of a new firm imposes a negative externality on existing firms. So the second externality is known as business stealing externality. When new firms enter the market, they steal the market and the demand for the products produced by the existing firms decreases, and they impose negative externality on existing firms. So second externality is related to producer side. The inefficiencies of monopolistic competition are hard to measure. No easy way for policymakers to improve the market outcome. Next topic is advertising. When firms sell differentiated products and charge prices above marginal cost, each firm has an incentive to advertise in order to attract more buyers to its particular products. When firms charge prices more than the marginal cost in monopolistic competition, so firms try to advertise the products in televisions and in newspapers to attract more customers for their products. Firms that sell highly differentiated consumer goods typically spend between 10 and 20% of revenue on advertising. Overall, about 2% of total revenue or over $200 billion a year is spent on advertising. Critics of advertising argue that firms advertise in order to manipulate people's tastes. They advertise just to manipulate the consumers. They want to divert the customers of other products to their products. Next is, they also argue that it impedes competition by implying that products are more different than they truly are. Defenders argue that advertising provides information to consumers, so they can have information about the type of the product, quality of the product, and taste of the product as well. They also argue that advertising increases competition by offering a greater variety of products and prices. The willingness of a firm to spend advertising dollars can be a signal to consumers about the quality of the product being offered. So, advertising can play its role in case of monopolistic competition, where there are many firms selling differentiated products in the market. They can use a tool that is advertising, and they can advertise their products in television and in newspapers, and they can spend a lot of money on advertising. Next topic is brand names. Critics argue that brand names cause consumers to perceive differences that do not really exist. Economists have argued that brand name may be a useful way for consumers to ensure that the goods they are buying are of high quality. You have seen that people go for brand whenever or whatever is the quality of the product. If the brand is prominent and is well known to the customers, so people buy products from that particular brand. Providing information about the quality and also giving firms incentive to maintain the high quality.